Good girl. Good girl. Little pretty girl. You want the ball? Ready? Good girl. Good girl, Rachel. It's gonna be the name of our book. I've been working on your book this whole 2 weeks. Good girl, honey. I want to get a picture of the two of us together here because we haven't had a picture of the two of us together here at Del Mar Dog Beach. Yes. We'll just let me throw the ball. Let me throw the ball. Here we go. Ready? Go get it. Good girl. Good girl. It's a good. You howl really good. Yeah. It's a good girl. Go get some breakfast. Woo. Woo. Yay, Rachel! Go get some breakfast? Yeah? Go get some breakfast? You go for a walk? And do poo-poos and pee-pees? Good, you gotta get up. Yeah. Waiting for, okay, it looks like my colleagues are up online. Christian,
Awesome.
Andy, can you guys hear us?
Yep.
Andrew and Christian?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yep.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, good. Let me start, if I may, since I'm the
Please.
one that can reach out to you guys.
Yeah.
I think that our IT department has done an exceptional job implementing the technology needed to keep things moving, in the right direction. And we're still expecting a tremendous amount of growth going forward, even at this point. We want to start tightening up some of our technology, and specifically with regard to onboarding and offboarding, and improving the user experience for the applications access, and basically general overall security, things of that nature. The typical stuff I think that you would otherwise expect.
Yeah.
Move my Zoom. I don't see you anymore for some reason. What did I do?
Right.
I lost your face. Very strange. Yeah, you disappeared on me. Your face is gone. What the? Oh, there you are. Okay. I got you. You're back now. I think it's more that I just didn't want to see my own face. I think that was it.
You're trying to hide yourself?
I was trying to hide myself. Yeah. Let me also preface by saying, I've been in IT for over 2 decades, but this SSO on this level is new to me. So I'm kind of experiencing a learning curve of my own. So forgive me if I seem rather ignorant on the topic to some degree, because I am, and I'm learning as I go largely. So I'm going to lean on you to kind of clarify some things for me that need clarifying. I've come up with a list of about 12 questions. I don't know if you'd like me to kind of go through them real quick, or did you want to start the demo, or do you answer them as you go?
Ken, what do you think? Is it better to maybe, as we go through the demo, it will probably address some of those questions? Because, we do it in kind of a path where we kind of take you to the end user experience of how they're going to engage with Okta, the day-to-day, what they're going to see, and then we'll move it over to the admin console. But if you have some questions, burning questions you want to run through, slow your call, Frankie. We can go through your flow, man.
So I've already written the questions. I spent a lot of time and effort going through the questions. I really would like to ask them. But
sounds good.
But why don't I just read them all off? There's about a dozen, if you don't include the follow-up questions within a couple of them. But I'll just read them through them quickly. How about? It wasn't my plan to do it that way, but for the effort of time and out of respect for your presentation, the way you want to run it, why don't we try that? I'll read through them, and if it's something you want to answer now, you can answer it now. And if on the other hand you say, you know what, I can answer that better in the demo, then I'll skip right through that.
Let me ask you this: can you share your screen with us so that we can maybe read along with you and kind of have in front of me? Is that possible, or do you have them written out?
I can do that.
Okay.
I can do that. Yeah.
If we can set them up on the screen, that'd be great.
Go ahead and connect, Ken, what you just were telling us a moment ago to question number 7, with regard to you're saying that you're a little bit more easy. You've got a larger platform, and it's easier to implement all of this technology with Okta than it is, let's say, with those other platforms that we mentioned. How does that tie in with with that very question on number 7?
Yeah.
Okay, around so SAML toolkit, SAML plugins, system with RESTful APIs. So yeah, as far as the integrations in the network goes, so let's say you want to integrate something that's not currently in the network. Couple options. You can either work with our OIN team, the integration network team, and they'll add it for you, and that usually is about a 4 to 6 week turnaround time. Or we have a wizard-based approach that, as long as you know it does support an industry standard like SAML, you can go through the wizard and it's just going to ask you for the things you would need. So the single sign-on URL, the metadata, and it would have you plug all that in and then integrate that way. So there are.
The wizard is part of the application as a whole, or is there a separate charge for that? And likewise for the 4 to 6 week technical assistance, which one of those, if any, or both of those require an additional charge to the platform, the standard platform?
Yep, that's all going to be part of single sign-on. So that's the integration, all part of single sign-on, and we don't charge for the integration with the OIN team adding for you, because we figure if you want to use an application, other people would as well. So we don't charge for that. Any questions before I start looking at MFA?
No, the weird thing is I just feel like I want to get my hands in and start making changes. I do have a question.
We make that possible.
Calm down there. I did something for my last company name, Lauria Media. I set like a trial thing up and was kind of playing around with it. Do you remember we talked about that yesterday?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And so I was wondering, is that something that we'd be able to play with, where I could kind of start adding things and doing all of this stuff? Is that something we'd be able to play with at some point in time together?
Yes. So can you just take them to the Okta free trial tab to show them what that looks like, the ease of signing up. So guys, you can absolutely sign yourself up for an Okta free trial at any time. It's 30 days.
Did you and Ken get the email I just sent, the two or three that I just sent?
Ken, did you get that?
I did not. I have not received an email.
It's in my sent folder, and I've got your email addresses there, and
let me make sure it's not getting filtered out somewhere.
Maybe I'm in your spam.
Yeah, I went to his Mimecast. I didn't see it in there.
Let me do a screen share. I'm going to show it to you guys. Oh, wait,
okay, and then we can see.
See? There's the attachment.
Yeah.
That's the one that I sent. Here's it. So I'll show you that I finished it out for you. This is the finished thing.
Oh, let me.
I did the work.
No, you did.
So the other one, hold on, I'll show it to you in this one too that I just sent out as well.
Well, let me,
guys.
Well, scroll up. I'll just take a screenshot of that. Scroll up a little bit so I get all of them.
Let me do F11 here so I can get the whole thing.
Okay.
Wait. Okay, good. Take that.
Got that. Okay.
All right. Well, let's talk about all these apps and what we're going to do today. So, Frank, you've set up the environment, right, in your space. You have the trial set up, right?
I do.
Okay. So what we're going to want to do today, guys, is get you all three connected as the admins, as a super user, so that you guys have full reign in your environment to add, change, do everything, right? Now, in terms of the 4 apps you provided, so Azure AD, Google Admin, Helios, and Pathways.
Did you look at the 5th option, that if we can get that one worked out too, that would be a big plus? Our electronic ordering system.
Yeah. So looking at that, that's another one that we can connect to via SWA, right, Ken? Because it has a web face and whatnot.
Right. Exactly.
Would we be connecting to it through Jitterbug?
So
Jitterbug is the actual platform that it's on.
Yeah, we looked at.
If you need to take a minute, go ahead.
No, we looked at it, right? So we power by Jitterbug, but the application itself is, when we click on that link, Frank, it takes us to a portal.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right, Ken?
Right.
So what we can do is just integrate it into the environment, right?
Yeah, wherever the login portal is, that's the URL that we want to use.
Okay.
ICInspirationstation.com would be the login page.
Okay. All right. Well, if we can get all 5 of those, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, let's see what we can do. So let's get started.
Excuse me. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to eat at the same time. I apologize.
No problem.
I don't remember what it is. Okay.
What we can do, and we like to do in the beginning, is just kind of get the admin accounts cleaned up. So if we jump over to the admin side, from here, we can start working on the application. So which would be a good one that all the test users have access to that we want to get set up so they'd be able to test it out?
The ones on the list: Azure AD, Google Admin, Helios and Pathways are the four. If we can get, if we can get Azure AD, Google Admin, Helios, Pathways, and our EOS system, the one, that inspiration station working, it's been suggested to me that we could probably greenlight this in the short term.
Excellent. So what we can do, because there's going to be a different integration for some of these, we'll do one that's going to be already in the OIN, so that's the pre-built, and then we'll do one that's going to require the create new app wizard.
Yeah, so I've got basic notes of kind of what you were looking for per your email with our team. But I thought to kick off our discussion today, if you want to go a little deeper on what you're looking to solve or how you'd use a directory service, that would be great.
Yeah, we have about 45 SaaS platforms throughout the company. When I onboarded, I was handed a sheet, a piece of paper with the names of all the different SaaS applications that we use. And I'm looking at them thinking, I don't know, never even heard of half of these. I mean, half of them I did, but the other half I've never heard of. We already, as an IT department, understand the need and the efficacy of an SSO type model. We want to do it, but we need to be able to cost justify this to the higher ups, if you get my meaning. Because they're looking at dollars, like, okay, what's this going to cost, and really what's the value? So any embedded or inherent value that we can add to it overall, this is what ultimately they're going to be looking at. Because at the end of the day, I have to be able to sell the whole idea to the VP and everybody up above there.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. That is awesome. Yeah, and a portion of what we do is helping manage web applications, getting users logged in, the whole efficiency of that. There's some other things we do, which we can talk about. So I was curious if you want to go a little deeper into kind of your current IT environment, or if there's other portions of this product that may relate to some of the features that we have.
You're asking me that question. I don't know the answer to the question. I'm leaving it to you to educate me on certain things. I mean, I understand, I know what it is and I know how it works, but what you guys have and how it's going to benefit us, I don't necessarily know. So let's do it this way. Why don't we do this? Can I screen share something with you?
Totally.
I'm going to give you a list of our SSOs real quick, just so that you have them for your reference.
Mm-hmm.
If you find that to be helpful.
Cool. So yeah, and we will get into educating on some other things we do. I would say, kind of like, just to contrast and compare, there is some overlap of what we do and what Okta and OneLogin does. They are kind of like purebred SSO players. They do a great job of getting a user into their web app, and we do that too. But we kind of have a little bit of different philosophy. Our product is really designed to be like an alternative to Active Directory. And so some things that we do across, systems, network authentication. So kind of in its entirety, it's more of like a true single sign-on that covers things that are outside of just web applications.
Okay.
So on that vein, I'm curious, do you guys have a current directory service like AD or LDAP in place?
No, we're using Azure and Google Admin.
Okay. Which of those is like your core email suite?
That would be Google Admin. But all of our workstations, I mean, everybody's using laptops essentially, and all of our laptops, we've got about 35,000 people. On
that realm, as far as those, as you said, laptops, are you guys mostly Mac or Windows?
Mostly Windows. We do have Mac as well, so Jamf should be on that list, but we're predominantly Windows laptops.
How do you do that?
How do we do what?
How do you get users set up on their machine? What do they log in with? Like, are those machines managed?
Well, we set them up with both. They have both an Azure account and a Google account. The email, inspireschools.org, is run through Google. The Azure, we're able to push out things like Intunes and other packages. So we're going through the process of opening the laptop, making sure that it can log in to the administrative console, that we can go ahead and connect them to the Azure domain, that the email address is good. So if you were a student and we gave you a laptop, your laptop, before we handed it to you, you'd already be logged in and provisioned through your Azure account. And then we would give you your Inspire Schools email, username, and password, and that would be already provisioned through Google Admin. And then we would push your applications between the two accordingly. So you're either going to log into some website with your Google, which is, when I say Google, I'm talking about inspireschools.org, because it's run through that. You're going to be logging in with your Inspire Schools email address and password, but provisioning all of those things, getting you set up in every one of those. I mean, if you saw the list, the SaaS list that I sent you, going through and finding out how many of these SaaS programs does John need to be set up for, that's a lengthy process. And then if John's not a student anymore, now we need to go back and undo all of that.
Well, that is super helpful to get the background and understanding. The whole concept of what we're after is really providing organizations, schools, businesses with, a modern directory service built in the cloud that really is like an alternative to going and setting up your traditional like on-premise AD. So we do everything, very modern, built in the cloud. We'll get into the SAML, Radius, LDAP, and protocols. But also kind of what separates us from like the Oktas and OneLogins is like really deep integration here on systems. And I'll explain kind of what that does, what it could do for you as we get into it. But yeah, this is just a quick illustration of how our customers use our platform. So they consider JumpCloud their core directory service in which they're managing all their students, teachers, faculty, staff, administrators, whoever here in the center. And you can think even like that core username and password managed centrally here in the directory.
So if we're using Jam for Mac and Azure AD and all those things, we're using all these to kind of get the laptop set up appropriately. Is it that we could instead just use JumpCloud and JumpCloud would do all these things for us?
Yeah, to kind of bubble up the conversation a little bit, we have definitely customers who, instead of here running Active Directory, here paying for Okta, here paying for Jamf, here paying for AirWatch, here, some other system, will use just JumpCloud. Maybe there's not a complete coverage of everything they did before, but instead of 5 different vendor solutions, they're doing one with JumpCloud.
I see.
But yeah, I mean, if you need the Ferrari of Mac management, that will always be Jamf, no doubt about it. If you need the Ferrari of SSO, that's always going to be Okta. But, we'll help you decide if you need all those features or if JumpCloud is sufficient.
We've been in the identity game for 10 years, and the pre-built connectors, the way that we have the admin manage the whole platform is a lot easier to use and a lot more intuitive than what you get with Azure and also Google Admin.
I did send you a SaaS list. Did I send you guys a list of our?
You did.
I got it right here.
Yeah, it'd be about 48 there if I sent all of that roughly that we have. So if you could speak to those, if you're able, and I don't mean to cut you off in terms of your own presentation, but if you're able to address them specifically, and most specifically, the 4 or 5 that I gave Joe when we first, Joe, right?
Yep.
Joe, when we first started.
Right.
That'd be more pertinent to what it is we're looking for in the short term. But again, anything on the list would be helpful. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, perfect, of course. So of all those, the main 5 that you have, Azure AD, usually what we recommend is us being the identity platform behind Azure, because we can have a creation of users in OneLogin and have that auto provision into Azure AD. Same thing for Google Admin, right? Having us be the directory backend behind both of those really helps that be like the more central source behind all your other platforms already.
How would that work for something like for Helios, for example? I know that with Okta they have a whole, and you're familiar with this as well, so I'm not telling any secrets. Mm-hmm. They have like 6,000 platforms that are already fully integrated into their model. You can just go ahead and actually click on the ones that you want if you're already using them.
Right.
And if they don't have it in their list, if it's SAML ready, then they've got a process for that as well. And if it's not SAML compatible, then they've got some sort of PowerShell scripting that can be done to. It's not as secure as I understand it, but it's still doable as well. So in other words, their argument is, or their premise is that there should be no cloud platform with which we cannot initiate or maintain a single sign-on. Do you guys have anything similar to that? Is that likewise the case, or what do you have? What are your thoughts on that?
Likewise. So essentially, if an app is using SAML, OpenID Connect, or just using your normal username and passwords, as long as it's a web-facing application, we can connect to it. And we even take it a step further in that we can actually connect to some on-prem apps that are using header-based authentication. This is one of the big differentiators that we've put into place. And it's just essentially like a reverse proxy running in front of these header-based apps that use HTTP headers to authenticate instead.
I don't know if you guys do any device management. I know that JumpCloud does. I don't recall Okta mentioning it to me.
So I'll tell you just for your knowledge. So JumpCloud is really nice in terms of it being able to do some mobile device management and SSO, but it's like kind of basic in both levels. So schools and companies of your size and larger especially really only consider OneLogin, Okta, and Microsoft. And JumpCloud usually doesn't fall into that just because the UI doesn't meet expectations. And then a lot of times what happens is people find with Azure, it doesn't have the UI also that they're looking for. It's kind of clunky, hard to find because there's so many things in that whole Intune and Azure list. So they really shortlist it down to OneLogin and Okta. And that's what we found in majority of the things. We just go head to head with Okta, and maybe the Azure ones come in when the price is just super cheap and they really can handle it a lot on their own. Because what's nice about having using OneLogin is that our professional services team is very involved, as well as our support team. So if you have questions and whatnot, our support team is identity focused, and you get someone who's in the subject matter expert realm immediately, rather than kind of going through different tiers and trying to have to like find your way to tier 3 where the actual specialist is.
Okay.
So
I'm a little distracted. I heard everything that you said. I did not hear it. But I'm a little distracted by the guy behind you. The second picture above his screen. That looks like it's blurry from here, but is that Dr. Evil?
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is.
It's blurry, but I'm a big fan of that very first episode of Austin Powers. Much better than the following two.
It is. The following ones were very fun to watch, but the first ones really set the stage.
All right, I mean that's a short of what we're looking at now. I mean, I've never actually been in and looked around into the OneLogin environment. Do you guys have something that you can maybe show me?
Yeah. So let me see here. So normally, when we do a demo, I want to like give you like a full tailored process of going through the thing and actually also custom branding it so you get to see it. Also possibly doing a little more research on a lot of the applications you may have.
Okay. What's your email address? I'm going to reply to Joe, but I don't have yours, Craig.
If you reply to the thread that we have.
Actually on the calendar is what you're saying.
Right.
And I'm still waiting for Christian and Andy first on my end.
Okay.
But they don't show up if when you're ready to go. If they're not on, then we can just rock and roll, because I just texted them, let's go.
The main piece that is important is the user management side. So you managing all your users. Essentially, what we recommend is getting an export from Azure and importing them here into OneLogin. All right, there's usually like a CSV file. We can do a batch import of importing users.
Same thing with Google Admin.
For Google Admin is actually even nicer. We have a direct integration. So all you have to do is make an OAuth and API connection, and it syncs all your users in from G Suite.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
We do.
That's just for the existing users, obviously, right? The other ones we can still do through the aforementioned spreadsheet procedure as we go forward. Is that what you're saying?
Right. I mean, essentially, this is a good for a one-time sync. We have some clients who do use it as a consistent one, but for your use case, especially because you're moving users off into your other applications like Azure and then back into Google and things like that, we recommend using this as a single sync over and then cutting it off afterwards.
Yeah, because a big part of it is with the provisioning of it is to reduce the amount of the workload that we have in provisioning somebody, obviously.
Exactly. Using, for example, Office or G Suite, and when you move from school accountability to IT and say Office isn't being used there, then it will clear out that account. It'll remove the license, and now they're switched over to whatever new app that they're using. But things like school pathways, where it's just using the username and password, it will remove this tile, but the account will still be in school pathways.
For the short term, I understand that I came to you guys and said our primary applets are Google Admin, Azure, Helio Pathways, EOS, and if we can get that, locked down, then we should be able to cost justify this through the department heads above us. But looking beyond that, the more tiles that we can eliminate in terms of having the users leave trails behind, leave footprints behind if they get transferred from one department to another, the more that we can clean that up, the better, I think, going forward. And you're saying as long as we can find applications that are SAML ready, that would be the case, that they would just log out automatically. Is that right?
Exactly.
It's the non-provisioned, non-SAML ones that are potentially the problem in terms of having to go and do them, onboarding them manually and offboarding them manually in those instances. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and share with you what we were working on last year, if I may, to just kind of give you a little bit of heads up and background as to where we were and then where we want to go.
Well, you can drive here. We're in, which account are we in?
This is the one from last year.
Okay.
And what happened last year was all 3 schools were in the same account. And I guess for technical reasons, this was causing a problem. So they abandoned it at the last minute. They kind of did this on their own without tech. And within 3 weeks before it was supposed to launch, they brought us on and said, hey, this isn't working. Can you help us? We're like, we're not going to get this done in 3 weeks. So they let it go. But when we were thinking this year, you know what, let's go ahead and create 3 separate accounts for the schools and let's kind of start working it and getting it in condition so that when they do want it, we already have it ready for them.
The schools each have their own SIS, right?
Yes. Well, they use the same platform. They all use the same platform, but they have their own accounts.
So as you set up, this is one of the new ones, right? So
yes.
Could you click on sync, the third from the bottom on the left? All right. So when you go into your account, there'll be a pull down menu on this screen and you'll select pathways. And it's going to direct you to reach out to your support at Pathways to have them set up your nightly export to Clever. So, they'll do that on their end. And once they get that set up and your data is being shared over to Clever, you can check that data and make sure it looks good and looks correct by going into support tools, which is right above sync on the left rail. And clicking on the data browser at the top.
Data browser?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this just gives you a visual on all the data that it's nothing here yet because we haven't synced, but this will be the place where you'll go to check and make sure everything looks correct. Schools, number of students and teachers. So how will users log into Clever? Is it, you can use Google if they use Google to sign in on their devices. You could use Active Directory if you use that.
They're going to be using Google.
Okay.
Yeah, they have Google email addresses. This is the one from last year. Did you want to take a look at any of this in relation to what we're looking at here? Wait, I want to see something real quick. I'm kind of answering my own question. This is what I wanted to see. Okay, got it. This is what you were talking about in actual fact.
Well, yeah, that's the initial data that comes over. You can get more detailed look at it in the data browser. Let's say a user is saying that they are not seeing a particular application on their portal. Mm-hmm. You can click onto any of these teachers, let's say, and if you click on them, you'll go into their user profile, and you can use the support tools button in the upper right and go to access portal as user, and then you can impersonate that user and see their view if you need to. So that's just a useful thing for admins to know, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this is good. This is much more user friendly in terms of it visually than Okta and OneLogin. I can understand why teachers and students like it.
Good. The whole idea behind Clever is to make it quick, easy, and reliable.